Chapter 8 is titled We Capture a Flag. In this chapter, the next few days, he says, I settled into a routine that felt almost normal, if you don't count the fact I was getting lessons from satyrs, nymphs, and a centaur. We find out that Percy is really good at canoeing, not archery, foot racing, or fighting though. And he has a sword fight in this chapter in cabin 11, and Luke is his teacher during the sword fight. Luke is the best swordsman to come along in 300 years. Percy is paired with Luke, and they practice their sword play. Luke gives him a workout. During the break, though, Percy dumps ice water on his head and instantly feels better. Also in chapter 8, Luke demonstrates a super tricky offensive sword technique to cabin 11, and he uses Percy as his example. Percy manages to knock Luke's sword out of his hand. This is when we learn an important history lesson. It says about 60 years ago, after World War II, the big three agreed they would sire any more heroes. They wouldn't sire any more heroes. Their children were just too powerful. They were affecting the course of human events too much, causing too many deaths. World War II, that was basically a fight between the sons and Poseidon on one side and the sons of Hades on the other. The winning side, Zeus and Poseidon, made Hades swear an oath with them, no affairs with mortal women, and they all swore on the river Styx. However, Zeus broke this promise 17 years ago and had a child named Thalia by an immortal TV person. When Hades found out about Thalia, he sent some of the meanest monsters from Hades to hunt her down and kill her. And Thalia tried to get to Camp Half-Blood before the monsters got to her. However, she was escorted by a satyr and a couple of half-blood friends. The monsters were too fast and powerful and were at her heels. She told the satyr to take her friends to safety within the Camp Half-Blood borders while she fought the monsters. The monsters end up killing her, and as she died, Zeus transformed her spirit into the tall pine tree that rests at the top of the hill overlooking Camp Half-Blood. And the pine tree has huge protective powers and helps keep everyone at Camp Half-Blood safe. So that's how the pine tree got there. Percy asks Grover if anyone has ever gone on a quest to the underworld and come back, and Grover tells him no. And Grover begins getting suspicious of Percy and about Percy's questions about quests. Then they decide to go capture the flag. Athena, Apollo, and Hermes cabins versus Ares, Hephaestus, and all the other cabins. And the rules are, Chiron makes the rules when they play Capture the Flag, that the creek is the boundary line and the entire forest is fair game. All magic items are allowed, and he's going to be the referee and serve as the battlefield medic if somebody gets hurt. Percy's post on the team is border patrol, and Annabeth stations him all over a little creek. Percy feels ridiculous in his heavy armor, and he's wearing a hat, and it seems like all the action of the game is happening so far away from him. Clarice and some of her siblings from Ares' cabin close in on Percy. Clarice's spear is electric and gives Percy a painful electric jolt whenever she strikes him. Clarice and her friends are angry at Percy for making a fool out of Clarice during that bathroom incident, so they knock Percy backwards, and he finds himself lying in the creek. And he says, but then something happened. The water seemed to wake up my senses, as if I just had a bag of my mom's double espresso jelly beans. So once again, whenever he's near the water, things begin to happen to him. And Percy ends up fighting them back and ends up winning. And the Ares kids come after him in the creek, but Percy knocks their lights out. He even snaps the tip of Clarice's spear off. And cheers are heard because Luke has successfully captured the flag. However, Clarice thinks it is a trick. Annabeth compliments Percy on a job well done, and Percy is mad at her for using him as a spawn, as bait for Clarice. Annabeth tells him that she was on her way out. Annabeth tells him that she was on her way to help him out, but then she saw that he didn't need her help. And Percy had gotten slashed on the arm by one of Clarice's sidekicks, but the wound is somehow almost completely healed suddenly. And Annabeth is in awe of this fact. So somehow his wound got completely healed. And Annabeth tells Percy to step out of the creek. And as soon as he does, he feels exhausted and weak. So when he was in the water, he was feeling good. He gets out and now he's feeling weak again. Then they hear a loud, scary howl. And the campers all go quiet. And Chiron tells them to hold steady, and he draws his bow from his bow and arrow. This here. Standing on the rocks above them is a black hound the size of a rhino with lava red eyes and fangs like daggers. And the hound is looking straight at Percy. Annabeth draws her sword, and the hound leaps over her head and lands on Percy. The hound tears through Percy's armor, but Chiron shoots at it with his arrows, and the hound soon dies. Percy is badly wounded, but Annabeth tells him to step into the creek again. And when Percy does, all the campers gasp because they see a glow of light form over his head. The image of a trident, which we know the trident looks something similar to that. Campers kneel before Percy because this trident is forming over his head. Percy is determined. His father is Poseidon. So that is his father claiming him. And his father, we now know, is Poseidon.